Imagine waking up to a dazzling celestial sight rings like those of Saturn, stretching across the horizon, glittering under the light of the sun. These shimmering bands would dominate the sky, casting shadows on the earth and shaping our lives in ways we can hardly imagine. How would this breathtaking change affect everything from the natural world to our technology, culture, and even our survival? Today on Infinitia Verity, we're diving into a spectacular thought experiment. What if Earth had rings like Saturn? Welcome to Infinitia Verity, your ultimate destination for unraveling the mysteries of the universe, science, and everything in between. If you're fascinated by intriguing what-if scenarios, mind-bending scientific phenomena, and the possibility of alternate realities, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button to stay updated with all the amazing content we have coming up. Now let's jump into the exciting topic of Earth with rings. Let's first consider the physics of how Earth could acquire a ring system. Earth's rings would most likely form from a cataclysmic event such as the destruction of a moon-sized body orbiting the planet. Perhaps an asteroid the size of Mars collides with a nearby celestial object, leaving debris that slowly coalesces into a ring system. Alternatively, Earth might have formed with a ring system billions of years ago, similar to the rings we see around Saturn. In this scenario, Earth's rings would likely consist of rocky material rather than the icy particles that make up Saturn's rings, since Earth is much closer to the Sun. The temperature near Earth would prevent the formation of icy rings, but rocky debris from a large satellite would easily fill the Roche limit, the region where rings can form. Fact 1, Earth might have already had a temporary ring system 4.5 billion years ago. Scientists hypothesize that a collision with a Mars-sized body named Theia may have formed the Moon from leftover debris, which first created a ring around Earth. Fact 2, Earth's Roche limit prevents moons from forming inside it, which is why planets like Saturn have rings. If this debris forms within a planet's Roche limit, it can't coalesce into a moon, which would likely be the case with Earth's hypothetical rings. Earth's rings would be spectacular to behold. Depending on where you are on the planet, the rings would appear differently. Near the equator, they would stretch across the sky in a brilliant arc, glittering in sunlight and shimmering with reflective dust particles. Imagine standing in Quito or Singapore, where you would see the rings directly overhead, casting a shadow that extends across the landscape during the day. In higher latitudes, say in Europe or Canada, the rings would appear much lower on the horizon, resembling a celestial belt running along the edge of the sky. During the night, the rings would faintly glow, providing an ethereal light show as they catch and reflect the sunlight that has scattered through Earth's atmosphere. Fact 3. At the equator, the rings would be visible at a 90-degree angle, while in northern or southern latitudes, the rings would be seen closer to the horizon. Fact 4. Unlike Saturn's icy rings, Earth's rings would be predominantly rocky and likely darker in color, with widths stretching up to 5,000 kilometers and thicknesses around 30 feet. The rings would change life on Earth in fascinating ways. For one, they'd block some sunlight. Depending on the ring's orientation and thickness, certain parts of Earth might experience long periods of twilight or complete shadow. These darkened regions would be colder as less solar radiation reaches the surface, affecting not only the local climate, but the entire planet's weather patterns. Imagine living in a city like Nairobi, directly under the shadow of the rings. You might experience an extended period of day-night where the sun is technically still up, but the rings cast a shadow over the land, dimming the light to near dusk levels. Fact 5. Shadowed areas under the rings might become significantly cooler and less habitable due to the lack of direct sunlight, altering not only human settlements but also plant and animal ecosystems. Fact 6. Animals like birds that navigate using Earth's magnetic field or celestial cues might struggle to adapt to the interference caused by the rocky debris and shadows cast by the rings. Entire ecosystems could evolve differently depending on whether they are exposed to full sunlight or plunged into ring shadows. Cold adapted species would thrive under the dim regions, while in areas untouched by the rings, tropical life might flourish. Human settlements would also be affected, with cities needing to use artificial lighting during the day or relocate closer to the poles where sunlight isn't interrupted by the rings. Chapter 4. Impact on Earth's tides and climate. If Earth had rings, the Moon might either be absent, possibly having been shattered to create the ring system, or it might orbit outside the ring structure. In the absence of the Moon, Earth's tides would be dramatically altered. The Moon's gravitational pull plays a significant role in generating tides, and without it, we'd see much smaller tidal effects, leading to changes in coastal ecosystems and marine life. A lack of tidal forces would also mean calmer oceans, potentially reducing the likelihood of devastating tsunamis. However, the absence of the Moon might also result in an unstable axial tilt, which would cause wild fluctuations in Earth's seasons. Without the stabilizing effect of the Moon, Earth's tilt could change dramatically over time, leading to unpredictable climates. Fact 7. If the Moon crumbled into the ring system, Earth would lose its tidal forces, affecting ocean currents, marine life, and potentially human activities like fishing. Fact 8. Without the Moon's gravitational influence, Earth's axial tilt might wobble unpredictably, leading to drastic shifts in seasons which would severely impact agriculture and the global food supply. Chapter 5. The Technological Impact, Satellites, and Communication. Now let's consider how a ring system would affect our technology, especially satellites. Most of the satellites we rely on for communication, GPS, and weather forecasting are located in geostationary orbits directly above the equator. In this new scenario, those orbits would be crowded with ring debris, making it nearly impossible to maintain current satellite networks. Launching new satellites through the ring debris would be dangerous, and existing satellites would face constant threats of collisions. We would have to rethink the entire concept of satellite communications, possibly moving essential technologies to lunar orbits or finding innovative ways to place satellites in safer orbits away from the rings. Fact 9. Satellites, crucial for everything from GPS to internet connectivity, would likely be destroyed by collisions with ring debris, severely disrupting global communications. Fact 10. Tethered satellite systems or even massive space elevators might become necessary to ensure communications and technology remain viable in a ringed world. In addition to satellites, the rings would also impact human space travel. Any future space missions would face the challenge of navigating through or around the debris, which could complicate even the simplest of missions to space. Reaching the Moon, Mars, or beyond would become much more perilous and expensive due to the risk of collisions with ring particles. Chapter 6. Aesthetic and Cultural Implications. One of the most significant impacts of a ring system would be aesthetic. The sight of the rings would inspire artists, poets, and scientists alike. We would likely see ring symbolism throughout human culture, with the rings playing a central role in art, literature, and even religion. Imagine ancient civilizations gazing at the sky and weaving elaborate mythologies around the existence of these rings, or modern artists using the rings as metaphors for beauty and chaos. From architecture designed to align with the ring's shadows to festivals celebrating the celestial beauty of the ringed sky, human culture would be forever transformed by the sight of these majestic bands. Fact 11. If Earth had always had rings, ancient civilizations would have incorporated them into their mythology, and we might even see ring symbolism in modern culture and art. Fact 12. Over time, the rings would slowly degrade, causing meteor showers as particles re-enter Earth's atmosphere and burn up, providing a spectacular sight in the night sky. Chapter 7. The Scientific Opportunities of a Ringed Earth. For scientists, Earth's rings would present a unique opportunity to study planetary ring dynamics up close. Instead of relying on distant observations of Saturn's rings, researchers could examine the properties of the rings directly from Earth or from low-orbit spacecraft. Understanding how the rings formed, how they evolve over time, and how they interact with Earth's gravity and magnetic fields would open up entirely new fields of study. The rings might also help astronomers study other planets, as Earth's rings could serve as a comparison point for the ring systems observed on other planets in the solar system. Scientists would use the rings to unlock secrets about planet formation, celestial mechanics, and even the potential for rings to exist around exoplanets. Fact 13. Rings might act as a natural laboratory for scientists to study how planets form and how debris behaves in orbit, leading to groundbreaking discoveries about the early solar system. Fact 14. With the rings as a backdrop, future astronomy might focus on ring dynamics and planetary formation, revolutionizing our understanding of the universe. Chapter 8. What if the rings disappeared? While Earth's hypothetical rings would be a permanent feature of the sky for millennia, they wouldn't last forever. Just as Saturn's rings are slowly disintegrating, Earth's rings would also erode over time. Micrometeoroid impacts and gravitational forces from the Earth, Sun, and Moon, if it survived in this scenario, would gradually weaken the rings. Over millions of years, the debris would fall toward Earth, either burning up in the atmosphere or crashing to the surface. The loss of the rings would be dramatic, both visually and scientifically. As chunks of the ring system re-enter the atmosphere, we'd witness meteor showers on an unprecedented scale. Imagine the sky lighting up with hundreds or even thousands of shooting stars each night as remnants of the rings burn up upon entry. Fact 15. The gradual degradation of Earth's rings would lead to regular meteor showers as ring particles enter the atmosphere, creating stunning visual spectacles. These would be far more frequent and widespread than the meteor showers we experience today. Fact 16. Once the rings disappear, the regions that had once been in shadow may experience drastic climate changes as full sunlight returns, altering ecosystems and weather patterns yet again. This process of ring disintegration would also bring scientific opportunities. By studying the meteor showers and debris falling to Earth, scientists could learn more about the composition of the rings and the forces that shape them. Eventually, the absence of the rings would return the Earth to its familiar ringless state, but not without leaving a lasting mark on human civilization. Chapter 9. How would life on Earth evolve with rings? The presence of rings would undoubtedly change the course of evolution on Earth. Life has evolved in a world where sunlight, moonlight, and the night sky remain constant. Rings would throw an entirely new dynamic into this mix, influencing the behavior of plants, animals, and even human societies. In regions beneath the shadows of the rings, plant life might evolve to thrive in lower light levels. Species could develop enhanced photosynthesis mechanisms or grow taller to reach light sources not blocked by the rings. Meanwhile, nocturnal animals might face new challenges, as the glow from the rings at night could disrupt their natural rhythms. Predators could hunt by ring light, altering the balance of ecosystems in shadowed regions. Fact 17. Plant life beneath the ring's shadows might evolve to photosynthesize more efficiently, adapting to the reduced sunlight, which would create new ecosystems dependent on different levels of light. Fact 18. Ring light might permanently alter animal behavior, as species that rely on darkness for survival would have to adapt to a night sky that never fully goes dark in some areas. Humans, too, would need to adapt. In the shadowed regions, communities might develop unique lifestyles to cope with the lack of light. Agriculture, architecture, and energy use would be revolutionized to accommodate the colder, dimmer environments. In contrast, areas with full sunlight would likely become economic hubs, as their access to natural light and solar energy makes them more productive and hospitable. Over time, societies might split into two distinct groups: those living in the shadowed regions with their dark adapted cultures, and those living in the sunlit areas where technology and agriculture flourish under constant light. Chapter 10. How would Earth's history have been different? If Earth had always had rings, human history would look very different. Ancient civilizations like the Egyptians, Greeks, and Mayans, which were deeply connected to the heavens, would have built entire mythologies and religious beliefs around the rings. Imagine what Stonehenge would look like if it had been designed to align with the rings. Instead of tracking the sun and stars, ancient astronomers might have dedicated themselves to understanding the rings' movements. Cultural festivals celebrating the rings would become annual traditions, perhaps marking the points in the year when the rings cast the longest shadows or when the light reflected by them was the brightest. Artists and writers would draw inspiration from the rings, creating literature, paintings, and music centered around this celestial phenomenon. Fact 19. Ancient civilizations would likely have created entire mythologies based on the rings, interpreting them as divine symbols or celestial pathways, and aligning monuments with their patterns. Fact 20. The rings might have been seen as a symbol of power and stability, with kings and emperors claiming divine right to rule based on their connection to the heavens. Even warfare might look different in a ringed world. Military tactics would take the rings into account, with armies planning invasions to coincide with periods when their movements could be hidden by ring shadows. Naval battles might avoid regions where ring debris would make navigation difficult, leading to the development of specialized ships designed to sail in areas affected by the rings. Chapter 11. Future Human Exploration of the Rings. If Earth had rings, future space exploration would inevitably involve studying, mining, or even colonizing the rings. The debris fields would offer valuable resources, including metals and minerals that could be mined and used in space stations or advanced technologies. Imagine astronauts building colonies within the rings themselves, using the debris as both a shield from solar radiation and a resource for building materials. Future space stations could be positioned near or within the rings, providing unique vantage points for observing the Earth below and the stars beyond. These stations might even use ring particles as a source of fuel or raw materials, turning Earth's rings into a stepping stone for humanity's further exploration of the solar system. Fact 21. Future space missions might involve mining the rings for resources such as metals and minerals, which could support space exploration and colonization efforts. Fact 22. Space stations or colonies could be built within the rings, providing shelter and materials for long-term space exploration, allowing humanity to use Earth's rings as a gateway to the stars. Moreover, the rings could become an international or even interplanetary attraction, drawing tourists from across the solar system to witness their beauty up close. Just as people travel to see the northern lights today, future generations might journey to space hotels positioned near the rings to experience this celestial wonder firsthand. Chapter 12. The End of the Rings. Eventually, Earth's rings would disappear. Over millions of years, the debris would either fall to Earth or be ejected into space by gravitational forces. But before they were entirely gone, the rings would go through phases of spectacular degradation. Massive pieces of debris might fall to Earth in dramatic meteor showers, some of them large enough to cause damage if they survived the trip through the atmosphere. These meteor storms would be awe-inspiring but potentially dangerous. Humanity might have to develop new technology to protect against incoming debris as the rings disintegrate. Once the rings were gone, the Earth would be left with no trace of the majestic bands that had shaped its history for so long. But in their wake, humanity would be left with a wealth of scientific knowledge, new technologies, and cultural memories of the celestial wonders that once encircled the planet. Fact 23. As the rings disintegrate, the planet could be subjected to meteor showers and falling debris, some of which might be large enough to cause localized damage on Earth's surface. Fact 24. The disappearance of the rings would mark the end of a celestial era, leaving Earth with no trace of its once glorious bands, except for the scientific discoveries and cultural legacies they inspired. Conclusion: a world forever changed by rings. If Earth had rings like Saturn, life as we know it would be transformed in ways we can barely imagine. From altering our ecosystems and weather patterns to reshaping our history, culture, and technology, the presence of these celestial bands would create a world entirely different from our own. The sight of shimmering rings in the sky would forever inspire awe and wonder, changing the course of human evolution, scientific exploration, and artistic expression. But as with all things in the cosmos, nothing lasts forever. Earth's rings, as breathtaking as they would eventually fade into the background of history, leaving humanity with the memories of a time when the sky was adorned with glittering celestial bands. Thanks for exploring this amazing scenario with us here on Infinitia Verity. If you enjoyed this thought experiment, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming explorations into science, space, and beyond. And let us know in the comments, what would you do if you could see rings from your backyard? Until next time, keep wondering.